I didn't want my mom to see the person that I was turning into. I was in and out of jails, so chose to be homeless, chose not to have a driver's license.
How did you survive?
Stealing.
Okay.
And a lot of my survival was drugs. And I was calling the 1-800 numbers, February 2018. Then, and nobody goes into treatment sober, or nobody like me goes into treatment sober out on the streets. Then I was in there. I don't think I went to church the first week. I went there for the first time, and I don't know any of the message still to this day. But I just remember sitting in that chair just weeping. I could just feel the presence of God. My story is not, it's not a sentence. My story is redemption. It is reconciliation. It's hope for people that are still out there. From being the outcast, the ones that if they seen a weird car in my mom's driveway, they would come and see what I was doing there and make sure that I'd leave. Yeah. And it was just, they didn't want me on my mom's property. Sure. To where they don't want me to leave once I get, or they want me to leave, but they want me to stay as long as I can. They don't want me to rush off. And beautiful. Yes, and just how God can even bring together what was so broken because of my toxic addiction life. It's weird. People will be like, I'll tell people about who I used to be. They're like, I don't see that. There's no way. Yeah. I was like, no, God can do wonders. Wow. And it's so crazy. People are like, you're so nice. It's not me. It's God in me, because if it was me, I would still be an angry, want to fight you, just one of the people that you did not want to talk to. Yeah.
That's why I'm just like,
yeah. Okay, so you're not from Duluth. You're not from Salem. You're kind of, in a sense, new to the area. So tell me where you come from. Kind of tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
Okay, I'm from southeastern South Dakota, kind of half hour from the Missouri River. Not close enough to really able to enjoy it that much till I got out of school. But once when I got out of school, I really found myself drawn to the water just as a moment of peace and clarity. I found peace by there, and to have I think it's the second to last dam before the Missouri goes into the Mississippi. So after big snow melts and stuff like that, you could just hear the water coming through the dams and just that noise. After I went through Revelations a couple times, I realized that it was in my mind, just hearing that roar. It's kind of I think it's Revelations 3, how it talks about God's voice just being like the roaring water. And it gave me a good correlation. That's why I found my peace there always, even in my darkest times.
But did you know God then?
I knew that there was a God. I did not know him personally.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those things. But I spent almost 10 years in and out of homelessness. It was more of a chosen homelessness, just because my family wanted me around, but because of my addiction, I was very shameful and very angry at myself, just because of the life I chose. And did
you grow up in a poor family situation? How did some of that homelessness, kind of tell me a little bit about kind of what led up to some of that?
I grew up, it was a very dysfunctional home when I was a young child. But then once when my dad left, then it was a single mom raising 2 kids, doing the best that she could.
2 boys?
No, a boy and a girl, me and my sister. My sister was a little older than me. She was kind of the more down-to-earth, just get through life. And I was the one that I had a lot of adventure in me, a lot of find the next next fun thing to do. A lot.
Adrenaline junkie.
Yes. And so I was going through cars all the time in high school and just being hard on everything. Kind of started drinking more on a weekly basis at the age of 14, 15. I was experimenting with it before that. By the age of 16, I was doing weed on almost a daily basis, and it just progressed. By the time I was 23, I think it was, I was using meth intravenously, and just because who that turned me into, I did not want to be around my family because I was scared that my mom was going to end up finding me dead, more or less. I just wanted to protect her because she was a single mom who worked 4 jobs pretty much my whole high school life, just to produce for us. She knew God, but it was hard to see it just because she was always so busy.
Yeah.
And it was hard just because I didn't have a lot of parenting just because of how it was. I had an uncle that kind of tried to help me out, but he liked to drink, probably a little more than a normal person, but he still was a hard worker. So was my grandpa. They were my 2 main male influences in my life. So it was 2008 when I was 23 when my grandpa passed away, and that's a couple other things happened. But after my grandpa passed away, I was mad at everybody. I just did not want to live no more. So that's when I started using the needle. I actually just gave up on life and started choosing my homelessness because I just couldn't see. I didn't want my mom to see the person that I was turning into. Yeah. I was in and out of jails, getting in arguments over cops just because they knew who I was. I knew who they were. It was just town of 18,000 people. It's small enough where everybody knows who you are. And once you get a reputation like I had, it was hard to break it. So after I had lost my license when I was 24, I actually did not get it back till for quite a while, just because I didn't want them to be able to just pull me over just because I was driving a car. Because I was always on probation, always had some influence in the community that they had reasonable cause to search my vehicle. And in just the life I was living, I was like, I'll walk. The town was 3 miles long by 3 miles wide, more or less. So it was everything was close enough where I could walk anywhere. Or bike. So chose to be homeless, chose not to have a driver's license.
How did you survive?
Stealing.
Okay.
And a lot of my survival was drugs. I really didn't eat much. I had jobs. I actually pretty much was always working. I just bounced from place to place. Did a lot of med aid work. And I would actually have residents ask me, "Are you losing weight?" Because I'd be on way too big. I would be doing way too much for way too long. And it was really hard to see the residents that were super close to me, seeing that I would drop like probably 15 pounds in like 2 weeks just because I would not be eating. That's
because drugs just have that much influence over the body.
Yes. You don't even think about eating when you're as messed up as I was. I mean, I should have. The amount I was using in the time frame, there was no way I should have lived. I would test my blood pressure at Walmart, like when we would be in there at 3 o'clock in the morning, just doing stupid stuff. And we were always buying stuff, but we'd go there at the most awful times, and it just looked very sketchy. I'd jump on the blood pressure machine, and it would be like heart failure. My blood pressure, like my heart should be quitting. But 2017, I moved back in with my mom the last time, and my family was not picking fights with me, but I was finding ways to make it into a fight, just so I could find them reasons to want to run away. That the mind of an addict, always twisting stuff for their benefit. I was definitely broken, definitely hurting. Moved back in with my mom one last time. Wanted to be sober. Wanted my family to give me a chance, but they all were tired of my sorries, and they were all tired of my manipulation because I was very toxic because of my addiction. They were always just telling me, "I'll just get your life right. It's not that hard to quit." And just hearing them really talk me down would almost be bringing fights.
Yeah.
And then I'd get tired of always being criticized, so then I would just go back into town and I'd start squatting again. And by that time I was at the job where I first started my CNA career. But when they hired me back, the DON knew that I was sober when I started back there, but it didn't last very long. So I worked there, I think it was 34 months. That's it. And I just stopped showing up because my addiction I was not capable of working anymore. And being in these just really bad fights with my family, and just really hard to see how much I was hurting my mom. So it was none of their fault. It just was my mind at that point in time. So I lived with my mom like 6 months the last time. In February, I chose homelessness for the last time. Moved into this. Within 6 months later, after that, the city of Yankton actually pushed the house in because it should have been condemned way before that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was in between 4 and 6 adults living in that house at all times.
Oh, wow.
And it just took till a homeowner went to prison that they finally, the city took it over and just pushed it in.
Yeah.
And very, very nasty living, very, very bad living situation. So it was a roof over my head, but it wasn't much. I mean, living that close with that many grown adults, a lot of toxic living. And I was calling the 1-800 numbers, February 2018. Then I think it was March of 2018.
Okay.
I actually started doing evaluations. I was going up to Sioux Falls for them because I knew that a new treatment opened up in Yankton and I did not want to go there. There was a place that I knew had success rate for IV method users. So I actually went up to Sioux Falls to get my evaluations, and so I get into the place that I knew I had a chance to make it.
Okay.
And then finally, four evaluations later, I finally got a guy's number that was like, "I'll call you when I have a bed date." But me being homeless without a phone, I was using a Wi-Fi number. So it was so hard to get a hold of me.
Sure.
That by the time that I actually got the phone call, it was the last week in April. Or it was probably 2 weeks before that, but he gave me the bed date. It was April 30th. And nobody goes into treatment sober, or nobody like me goes into treatment sober out on the streets.
Oh, okay.
So my sober date is actually May 1st, and this is God kind of redeeming himself. It's actually my grandpa's birthday that that actually I'm sober on. The one that was a big male influence in my life, and I kind of got mad at the world after he passed away.
Not a coincidence.
No, it's not. But then I was in there. I don't think I went to church the first week. I might have. I don't know. It was
in the treatment center.
Yeah, they would take us out to church.
Okay.
And they're telling me I should go to this one. They were selling the coffee on it, but I went there for the first time, and I don't know any of the message till to this day. But I just remember sitting in that chair, just weeping. I could just feel the presence of God. And afterwards, I went and got prayer, and God was working on me even in treatment.
Yeah.
But once when I got out, I started going to a Reformed church that my dad was going to, but I just wasn't welcome. So then,
Sure. Just a shame.
no, they just weren't very welcoming there. It was just one of them kind of old set churches that didn't really invite new people in. So then I started going to AA meetings and ran into a girl, and me and her started just hanging out outside of meetings and stuff, and then we started a relationship. And the church I was going to wasn't welcoming me, so I stopped going to church, and I started spending my Sundays with her.
Right.
And it became a very worldly relationship very quick.
Sure.
And then one of the guys that I was going to AA with told me about Discovery Church, and he told me, "Oh, I'll come for the band. You'll love the worship there." And it was kind of funny. The guy, they had an intern pastor that was he did a lot of the love gospel, that God loves you and stuff like that. And that's kind of what I needed to hear there. And it was a couple months after I started, then this other pastor started. And this lady who's still a good friend of mine, she still means the world to me, but just because of what she's done. She got me into street ministry and got me to see God's calling on my life, that my story is not, it's not a sentence. My story is redemption. It is reconciliation. It's hope for people that are still out there. And I did not realize that. And so right after I started going to that church, the relationship that I was in just got toxic. We were both toxic in it. It was a worldly one, and it just crumbled it out from inside itself. Sure. So it was God. I mean, it was God putting all these barriers. I mean, sure. Just because it wasn't of Him. So it gave me a chance to really focus back on God, to see where God wanted me. And then this girl was talking about going out and sharing her story to people out on the street, and I thought that would be cool. I didn't know nothing about street ministry, sure. Stuff like that. So my first time we had a meeting. She had me actually read Mark Cahill's One Thing You Can't Do in Heaven. And it's a book on just kind of street evangelism 101. It's a really cool book. It's one of my favorite ones to give people.
Yeah.
It kind of gave me a few pointers. I still didn't know scripture. I didn't know a lot of that. So I was still I shouldn't have been out there, but God had me out there. It's taking that step of faith. And that's kind of where my story goes. That's when I started just taking these little steps outside of my comfortable little bubble, because I actually, I was still working for the construction guy. I tried to get my CNA license back after I got my charges, and they said no. But within 6 months, the state of South Dakota was like, "No, you deserve your CNA license." I didn't reapply for it or nothing. They were just like, "You deserve it. We messed up."
Really?
So then,
wow.
Yeah. By the time I got it back, I was making good money doing insulation. That it was just like, okay, I have it at least.
Yeah.
I quit that job. I was actually at not a normal AA meeting. Okay. And my unit coordinator actually came in with a client on that meeting. Okay. And they did not know that I was looking for a job. I was actually applied for one of their, I would call it a sister company. They share the same director, but everything else, they're different companies. I filled out an application for them, and
I love how you're just smiling this whole time.
It's because of, yeah. It was, they actually they turned my information over to my old DON, and she actually called me and asked me if I was be willing to come back. They were like, we got a perfect position for you. We know that we could see that something's different when she's seen you.
Yeah, sure.
We would be happy to take you back. We know that you're on the right path.
Wow.
So I went back to the job that I left at the end of my addiction.
Yeah.
They called me and offered me my job, they offered me the job back, but just in a different unit.
Sure.
And then I was working there, I'd say 8-9 months.
Okay.
Or no, probably 6 months. And then the lady that got me doing street ministry, one Sunday morning, I got on my knees. I was like, God, I just feel like I'm stuck. What do you want me to do? I was just begging, like, what should I do next? And then I go to church. I walk in there just finishing up on worship practice. Here my friend comes jumping off the stage, running right at me. I think you should go to New Orleans. I think it's going to change your life.
Okay.
I thought that would. Just seeing people do street ministry in a lot bigger environment, and getting a lot more stuff thrown back at you, and a lot more people really listening.
Yeah.
Because you didn't really get a lot of conversations in Yankton. So I was like, yeah, it will change my life. I thought that was just going to change how I seen street ministry.
Sure.
But I went down there, did that. Got to know a couple people from Duluth because I went with a team out of Superior.
Okay.
And then it was a few months later, the recovery coach supervisor calls me up on a Sunday, just out of the blue. Hey, I think that you are called to be part of Teen Challenge, being a recovery coach. I was like, I need to pray about this. I got a good job. I'm close to my family. It's too far away. I just don't see it working out. I need to pray about it. I actually didn't even pray. I was just like, God, that's no. But
Just no.
yeah, I didn't even give it a thought. But I went back to work the next day, and just because of the worker I was, they always had me on doing CNA work. They always had me on the short wing, where they were short staffed, just because I was that efficient of a worker. Because of my ADHD, that was such a good position for me. I would get mentally burnt out doing it, but my mind would always be 3 steps ahead.
Sure.
So it was really good for me.
Yeah.
And I just can't. Yeah, there was just something about doing that work. It was so rewarding. And I was like, no, I'll think about it. Give me like 3 days. Yeah. That's what I told them. My next day off, I'll kind of give you an answer. Yeah. So I go into work Monday morning. They're like, you're in, because this isn't the start of COVID, you're in with so-and-so doing a 1-to-1. Okay. Because he was new admit, and we had to do 14 days of quarantine before he could go out with the rest of the residents. And he was a fall risk. So I was like, okay, I know I like sports. That's all I know. So I was flipping through these channels. I come on to a baseball channel. Okay. First commercial that comes on after I found the baseball was Minnesota Adult Teen Challenge.
Okay, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
South Dakota, you're getting Minnesota commercials.
Yeah.
Just don't make much sense. But sometimes your life doesn't when he's guiding it. So I filled out the application. It took me probably 2 months to get up here, just because by the time I got the job, I gave my old job, like a month notice, because I had to give my apartment a month notice. Sure. So everybody, I was always the person to just stop showing up, stop answering my phone, and then I was able to actually leave them on such good terms where I gave them like a month notice. And they were like, if it don't work out, you're always welcome to come back, but we know that you called up there.
Wow. That's cool.
So left on awesome terms, and I actually kept my CNA license. I've frauded it once just to keep it active in South Dakota. Yeah. Just so I could. Yeah. I have that in my back pocket. But I came up here, got burnt out at Teen Challenge within 6 months, I'd say. But the only word that I get from God was be still. I didn't understand it. I couldn't look for a new job, couldn't move back home where I had another job. Yeah. All I heard was be still. And second time going down to men's advance. First time I was too busy watching over the guys because I was not new, but I was still new enough that I thought that I had to babysit them.
Sure.
But second time I was going down there, and I was like, I'm coming down here for myself. Because I was in a very, not dark spot, but I need to hear God's word.
Okay.
And all that I could hear down there and everything that I went to, it didn't matter what breakout, what main session was, don't lose your ministry.
Okay.
And that gave me peace. That gave me peace. Okay, I can look for a new job. I just can't lose my ministry. So
then did you have an idea of what your ministry was?
God's ministry is we go down to First Street right by Women's Care Center, and we put up a canopy, and me and another couple are the main ones that do it, but we'll make just a hot meal. It could be spaghetti. It could be like cold sandwiches on the really hot days. It could be chicken Alfredo. I mean, just something warm for that community down there, because it's so dark. There's so much oppression down there just because of the abortion clinic, and then you have Wabasha, and there's so much darkness down there that we're there to bring some light. And one of the guys that actually I still minister to, the first time that I walked into them doors, February 2020, he came in and visited with us. Technically, it wasn't supposed to open, but he came in for a cup of coffee. Yeah. And he was just starting to open up to God. And he's still growing. He's an older gentleman, but God's still working on him. And it's so cool to see how 3 years, how somebody just from us loving on him can open up his heart to God. Even though that we don't see it on our everyday ministry. Right. We do not know what they're doing, of what God's doing in their hearts, but we're out there just to show them his love, because we can't do none of that without God's love. And that's the main thing that we're trying to do, is just show God's love through food and just through prayer, and giving if we see something that looks like we usually try to keep a little bit of clothes on hand, but we don't really hand out a lot, just because if you put them out, people just grab them just because they can. Yeah. So it's one of the things you kind of watch for the perfect person to give it to. Sure. But it's just more centered just to be a spot for people to come down, get a hot meal, and just to be loved on. I mean, a hug and a smile and saying that God loves you goes a long way. It's a lot more than what people figure. And we have people that will go back and eat, then they'll come back. They'll come at the beginning of the ministry, then they'll come back and we just appreciate, you don't know how much we appreciate what you do down here. And we're not we cannot take the credit. We'll tell them it's not us. God told us to do it. And it's one of those things that that's why God called me up here. I was part of the homeless community, and South Dakota, it's really hard to be homeless because you can't go to a food shelf in South Dakota without a residency.
Really?
Yes, because too many people have abused the system, that they don't want people just going and abusing it. So you have to have a residency. So a true homeless person can't go there and even get cans of beans and cereal. So it's really hard. I think God is calling me back there for retirement, but I do not know. It's because I would love to take it back, because there is not a lot of homeless, but there is a lot of if somebody could do something like that a couple days a week. I mean, they do have a thing every Thursday, but it's just people go in and eat. There is not ministry. There's no ministry part of it. Churches go in, they put on a meal, and then they feed people. Yeah. There's no prayer. There's no ministry time. It's just a meal. Yeah. And that's what it's missing. It's missing the showing of God's love. And I thought that's what God was calling me up here and getting me doing street ministry, getting me doing homeless ministry was about.
Yeah.
Was picking up the tools so I could take it back home. But once when God said, don't lose your ministry, I knew that he meant the ministry up here. And I knew that he really wanted me just to kind of settle in. And it didn't matter what I did, just as long as I had a mission heart, no matter what I do, I can still show his love, even doing sewer work.
Yeah.
I can tell people how God even gave me that job. I mean, it's weird how once when you have the peace, stuff will come to you. And it's really amazing. I'm so thankful for what God has done, because now my mom gets, if I don't call her by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, on work days, if I don't call her by the time I start work, she's calling me, are you okay? And there's such somebody that she didn't want to hear from me, but she did when I was using, just because she would wait for me to call because she wanted me to be halfway sober-minded. And now she actually wants me to tell her pretty much everything, and I want to tell her everything. Even on my hard times, I want to tell her everything when I'm struggling. And I know when when I was talking about moving back right before I went to middle of last winter, I was talking about moving back. She was like, "You're doing so well up there." No, just stay up there. You're doing so well. But my family sees my heart up here. They see how God is just guiding me, and they think I'm doing well up here. Sure. They just don't realize that I just got a deeper relationship with God up here. I mean, they do see it, but they don't realize that that's what they see of me doing well. It's just that I've grown a lot more in my relationship with him. And it's hard being so far away from my family, but it's once when I get back, it's actually so nice because all my family, even my uncles and my grandma, everybody, when you leaving, we need to get back up here before you leave. I mean, I'll tell people that I'm leaving at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I tell them that because I know I ain't getting out of there till noon, just because people are going to show up 15 minutes too 10 to say goodbye, and it's going to be a pot of coffee later. And it's just how my family is. So I know to tell them, I'll leave at this time and give it a couple hours, just because I don't want to leave. And they come and visit, and it's from being the outcast, the ones that if they seen a weird car in my mom's driveway, they would come and see what I was doing there and make sure that I'd leave. And it was just they didn't want me on my mom's property. To where they don't want me to leave once I get, or they want me to leave, but they want me to stay as long as I can. They don't want me to rush off. And yes, and just how God can even bring together what was so broken because of my toxic addiction life. I mean, I don't blame anybody for how they treated me in my addiction, because I know how toxic I was in my addiction, that it was me that was bringing all that stuff back on myself. So that's one thing that I love, how God showed me that it's all that I need to worry about is just seeing where I did wrong in my previous life and living my new life with him. Without all them toxic traits and without all that toxic addict thinking. And once when I found that out, it's weird. People will be like, I'll tell people about who I used to be. They're like, I don't see that. There's no way. I was like, no, God can do wonders. And it's so crazy. People are like, you're so nice. it's not me. It's God in me, because if it was me, I would still be an angry, want to fight you, just one of the people that you did not want to talk to, because I had so much anger built up. And
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing.
yeah.